Let's go to our environmental correspondent, Valerie DeKimpe, in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, for some reaction. Valerie, we heard Macron say that climate action can't wait because of events such as the war in Ukraine. What types of initiatives did the president propose?
Well, you're right, Charlie. The energy crisis, the food crisis resulting from Russia's invasion of Ukraine featured prominently in French President Emmanuel Macron's speech as part of his national statement. He said that climate could not become the adjustable variable with the war. He talked extensively about how, again, the energy crisis, the food crisis had become compounding issues for African nations. And he did insist that it was France's duty and the duty of Western countries to help African nations, developing countries, do more on adaptation, reducing the impacts of climate change. And so he talked about how countries should help poorer nations move away from fossil fuels. He talked about a plan developed with France and the European Union to help South Africa, for example, phase out coal in the next few years. And, speaking of how the energy crisis has affected potentially France's climate targets, he said, well, we will not sacrifice our climate targets. Now, you should know that currently France has pledged to cut its greenhouse gas emissions by 40% in the next 8 years and to become carbon neutral by the middle of the century. Now, it is important to note, however, that France is one of several countries, the majority of countries, as a matter of fact, which have not updated, revised, and strengthened their climate targets before coming here to COP27. So what exactly is France doing, you will say, to keep its targets of keeping global warming to 1.5 degrees in check? Well, a lot of people in France, perhaps listening to his speech, will not agree with his comments that France is, in a way, doing enough and is doing everything that it takes to keep those targets alive. He mentioned nuclear power. We know that more than half of France's nuclear reactors have been shut down for corrosion issues. He also mentioned that France was doing a lot of work on renewables. We do know that France is one of the only countries in Europe that has not kept its targets in terms of renewable capacity. So clearly, I think a lot of people will disagree with French President Emmanuel Macron about how France is doing enough, is walking the talk. We also know, as a matter of fact, that France's high climate body has said that France will need to cut its emission twice as fast as it is doing so now. Emissions are actually rising by 6% in France. So really, overall, one thing stood out to me. National statements are meant to be kind of an opportunity for countries to show that they're doing what they should be doing in terms of their climate goals. That's what Emmanuel Macron attempted to do. I'm not sure he was very successful at that. And he also devoted a large chunk of his speech to climate initiatives, nature-based solutions like protecting carbon sinks that absorb carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, and how to help developing countries do more to protect forests in that respect. So he also tried to position himself as some sort of mediator to help countries in that direction, also help countries in the direction of getting more climate finance from rich countries. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out, and if developing nations do see him as a potential leader in that respect.
France 24's Valerie DeKimpe live from the COP27 conference. Thanks so much for putting those remarks in context for us.